What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Coinbros, your guide through the greatest industry on this little rock spinning through the universe in the simulation that we're all here together. And I'm glad you guys are here with me and us. And let's talk about some crypto and what's going on in the market. So we hit like 76K yesterday. There was a big pump. I think we went up. What was it? Let me take a look here. So Bitcoin basically in the past few days went from like 69, 70K all the way up to 76K. A lot of it has to do with war talk, like always. We will talk about that. That'll be the last story that we're going to talk about. But there was like, it dumped back down to around 74K. There was like 3% profit taking. Since the war began, Bitcoin's up 12.3%. What does that tell you? It tells you that a lot of people are going into Bitcoin over gold and things like that whenever there's turmoil in the world. It's going to continue to happen. There has been 850 million in ETF inflows in the past day. And there's 6 days left of the war, right? Not the war, of the ceasefire that was put in place, which has kind of been back and forth what they're actually doing. But it was basically we have 6 days until they can make a decision, right? So, yeah, that's what's happening on Bitcoin. But let's talk about what's going on in a couple cool stories. I found a story today that was super interesting, and I want to talk about it first. And it has to do with Bitcoin and quantum computing once again. I've been talking a lot about that because there's a lot of companies that are trying to figure this out because they're like, in the next 6 to 10 years, that's coming, right? And we're seeing with AI and the way technology is blowing up right now, like quantum computing is a real issue for Bitcoin or crypto in general if the computers get to a point where they can start cracking codes and hacking, right? And that's probably going to be the first thing they're used for once it gets to that level, is the hackers and the people trying to rob everyone's money. They're going to be all over that, right? So let me read this to you. So Loop proposes freezing 5.6 million in quantum vulnerable BTC. What do they mean by quantum vulnerable? So they're saying any accounts that just have been dormant, right? Like for instance, Satoshi Nakamoto, whoever that is, the creator of Bitcoin, nobody knows who he is, but the wallet that has 1 million Bitcoin in it is supposedly his wallet, and it's never moved. So no one's ever moved any Bitcoin out of it, right? So there's talks that he could be dead. Maybe it's by design where they're not going to touch it and they're not going to move it. But at the end of the day, it's 1 million Bitcoin sitting in a wallet, right? And what would you rather have? Would you rather have a wallet just sitting there where hackers can eventually get into it, that 1 million Bitcoin, right? Like that would be a horrible thing to happen for the industry. And there's a proposal on the table here. I'll read it to you. It's Bitcoin developer Jamie Loop updated a proposal on Bitcoin's official repository to freeze coins in addresses vulnerable to quantum attacks. 5.6 million Bitcoin, not to be specific, but like in that range, including potential Satoshi's 1 million coins, would be locked until owners move them to the quantum safe addresses, right? So the way that would have to happen is you'd have to do like a hard fork or a soft fork or something. What that means is you basically copy the blockchain. Everybody has to move their Bitcoin over there to a new address, really. And I'm sure they'd have an easier way to do it where it's not so intensive, but like you would basically have to be moving to another fork of the blockchain. That way that old coins they're not valuable, right? So if they were to get hacked, nobody cares because it's just not the real Bitcoin that everybody's putting value on. So it's a pretty big deal, right? But like, what's your guys' take on that? Do you think that that's a good idea? Is it like, at the same time, it's like, how can you, if somebody were to hack those coins, they could just say that they're his coins and then they could go and move it over to the correct address. So there's a lot of things that, you'd have to get right. But it's a pretty big proposal. And they're saying it's better to freeze them than to let hackers have them, right? Which is, I agree with that. This pits property rights against network security in Bitcoin's most diverse government questions since the block size war. So it's one of those things where you're going to have people on both sides of the fence, right? A lot of people are going to say, no, man, that's not what crypto's about. This is not about, it's about self-custody. It's about privacy, all of these things that we've always talked about. And the minute you start controlling and saying, we're going to fork it, we're going to do this and that just to kind of put it in our favor, that kind of goes against what crypto is all about in the first place, right? So I see both sides of it. Worst case scenario, hackers get in and steal all the Bitcoin, and then it gets wrecked anyway, right? So like, we don't want that. But at the same time, you start, picking and choosing how you move, then all of a sudden this becomes like any other financial instrument, right? When you can start freezing things, and you can start saying, oh no, we're going to move it to another blockchain to freeze your coins. And it's like, then you get into a lot of gray areas where it's like, okay, well, there's a lot of little nuances here that we have to address. So it's not as easy as yes or no, but it's pretty interesting, right? And it is the most interesting part is like, it's a reality. Like we are going to face in the next, hopefully 6 to 10 years, it could be even sooner with the exponential growth and everything on the tech side, where we're going to have to ask ourselves, like, you know, when the computers get to a point where they can do things we can never imagine and they can easily crack the crypto code, man, we're gonna have to figure something out, right? So it's better to think about it now than when the problem arises. Anyway, that's something to think about, right? So give me your guys' take in the comment section what you think about that. I'm not sure. Like I'm like instinctually, I'm kind of against it, right? I'm like, well, nah, we're starting to, you know, dabble in what the core values of crypto are, and that's a slippery slope. But then you think about it a little more and like, well, I mean, if computers get to the point where hackers can just hack everything, then you have to do something, right? But anyway, pretty interesting stuff. Next story. Trump says the war is close to over. Let me read this. He told Fox News, I don't know if that's an outlet that you normally listen to. I don't really listen to any of the big guys because they're always very biased and it's back and forth nonsense, right? Anyway, he said the war is close to over, hinted at a second round of Islamabad talks within days. Iran reportedly ready to negotiate new nuclear terms and maritime conduct. So this is coming from Trump. They've said it 5 times now, right? And it doesn't ever seem to be the real case. There have been 5 failed attempts. Pakistan PM abroad until April 18th, so talks could be delayed. So we might be a little longer than this little, you know, whatever 5-day ceasefire. And the market rallied 7% yesterday. So any sign there's good news, we're getting rallies on Bitcoin. And even if it's not real, just Trump saying something like that is getting people bullish. So imagine when it does, if we do come to a conclusion and we figure out a deal, it's like, I'm pretty sure Bitcoin's ripping past 80K, no problem, maybe even closer to 90 if we get lucky enough to where they figure something out, right? So, yeah. So imagine when there's a signature, right? Like right now, this is all talk back and forth. We don't know who to believe, but it's still 5 times in a row now we've been duped. And no matter what, the market pumps whenever there's some good headlines, right? And like I always said, there's always 3 sides to a story. So we don't know what's really going on, but I like good price action regardless. Don't trade with words, trade. So they're saying now if oil drops below $90 a barrel, then it could be real. Like, and that's one thing to watch. Always watch the money and where things are going because they always know ahead of time. So if barrels of oil start dropping in price, it's probably we're heading in the direction of actually getting something done. So yeah, those are the 2 stories of the day. There was a few other things, nothing even wasting my time talking about. It's pretty normal day. The market's looking decent. Bitcoin's up. Altcoins are up, you know, a little bit. So we're not just plummeting, which is great. And yeah, let me know what you guys think about that quantum computing mumbo jumbo I was talking about. Be nice to each other out there. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Much love. Peace.